let me try to do this, because the world, as you know, is not an easy place, and it's not a stable place. And we have one conflict which some would call existential. And it's the one that I've spent the most time on in intelligence, reading the intelligence and beginning to understand what's happening. And that's North Korea. And North Korea is an acute danger for us. They are in the process of building an intercontinental ballistic missile which will be able to hit anywhere in the United States, and with a warhead which will be nuclear and fit on that missile. This particular leader, Kim Jong-un, has been moving to test and build about 10 times faster than his father did, and is more ruthless than I think any existing leader on earth. He's killed his family members, he's killed others, the slightest sign of anybody departing from his camp, and they end up dead. So this is, I think, the number one problem. The number two problem, of course, is Syria. And that comes from a very different part of the earth, where you have Russia and Iran vying for placement in this area. You have a Sunni-Shia conflict in this area, and you have a despot as a leader who has participated in the killing of 500,000 of his own people. This is something that I have never seen in my lifetime this way. And the use of poison gas, which President Obama made a red line and then did not do anything about that red line, remains a real problem. I've seen the maps where they're classified maps, where the belief is that this gas material is put together. Some of it is binary, which means once you put the parts together, they stick together. That's sarin. And so you have to be careful if you're going to explode something with sarin. It's going to be sarin gas. But the point is that this new president has taken a step, and that step was to send a number of Tomahawk missiles into an airport where planes left to drop the gas. And if I look, well, okay, if you believe you know more than I do about it, then you go right ahead. That's fine with me. You go right ahead. But if you want me to speak, you're going to have to let me speak. The House works with the majority party in power. You have the Republican Party controlling the presidency, the House, and the Senate. I don't think so. I don't think. Well, you're welcome to it. Because of the Senate. Look, I'll answer.
What is showing this
Hold it up. Okay, let's go. Next question.
Lord have mercy. What is it going to take for you to wake up and get pretty mad? What is it going to take for you to stand up and get mad at this all night?
to help.
Thank you for coming.
You're welcome.
My name is Warren Senio. I am a San Francisco resident. I've supported you since the very first time you ran for Senate.
Thank you.
Okay. So here's my question. There's going to be a proposal by Senator Sanders. Supposedly it's coming up later this month. It's basically single payer. I don't know the details of it. I've read how he feels about things, so I have an idea. And you probably don't know the details either.
I don't.
But my question is, how are you going to help support single payer? Because all the proposals and the reworks that have been coming up with healthcare right now basically are just helping the health insurance industry. People like me, people like my children, and the healthcare people who provide healthcare, the doctors and the medical facilities, the nurses, etc., are not getting any breaks. But the healthcare industry is getting all the breaks. So my question again, how are you going to help support single-payer healthcare?
Well, if single-payer healthcare is going to mean complete takeover by the government of all healthcare, I'm not there. If single-payer healthcare means trying to work out some of the problems that are existing, we've got an immediate problem that I learned about just coming up. It's a cost responsibility issue. And there was a House court case, and the House won the court case. And this is going to cost insurers in a month $7 million for 6 million people who get extra help between $11,000 a year and $29,000 a year. This may be what Trump is waiting for, to show that this program can fall apart, at least the individual premium part of the program. Trump may refuse to pay this, which means that 6 million will get dropped if insurers quit. It's something that's out of the blue. I did not know that there was suit against it, and I did not know that the House won the suit on the first level. So it's going to be, this is the existential domestic issue, no question about that. That and climate change are the two big issues that we have to face this year, I hope. And be able to pass a bill to deal with both. Neither is easy.
Question on that side? Okay, next question.
Could we have your attention, please?
Good morning, Senator Feinstein.
Good morning. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for being here. I'm with Indivisible San Francisco. It's my very first town hall, so I'm really excited to be asking this question. This is clearly the most unethical administration since Richard Nixon. The president's conflicts of interest are so widespread that it's hard to even catalog the ones we know about. Will you take a stand right now and call him what he is? Yes. Dishonest, incompetent, and corrupt.
Yes.
Will you commit to sponsoring legislation to investigate these conflicts of interest?
The answer to that is we are putting together in the Judiciary Committee As the lead Democrat, I inherit a new staff. And that new staff is looking very closely at the Emoluments Clause, as well as at whether we can, in fact, deny certain federal payments for business trips of his sons. So those are two things that are going. So there is a concentrated effort. I mean, it's just still April. Concentrated effort to put a program together which would involve non-payment of certain expenses, divestment. There's only one way to divest. He has to divest of everything, then put the money in the bank. Absent that, it is not an adequate divestiture. So if we can accomplish some of those things, and then we're taking a good look at conflict of interest in trademarks. For example, if he gets dozens of trademarks from China, and all of a sudden things get much better with China, is that a conflict of interest?
Yes.
Or are foreign guests from other governments staying in his hotel in D.C.? Is that a conflict of interest? So we're working on all of these to get good, solid, legal answers, and we'll be prepared to pursue.
What's happening, and do we know what's going on with the Senate investigation about Russia and tampering with our elections? I know that there have not been any subpoenas. What can we do to protect our future of being able to change this administration?
Right. Let me take the Russia question first. As you know, I was one of those who believed that we ought to have a separate select commission appointed outside of the Senate, much that was done with 9/11. Now, the problem with that is it takes a lot of time because it's got to go through committees, got to get amended, it's got to get the president's support, it's got to get the vote, all of this. In the meantime, each intelligence committee has moved ahead to House and Senate with its own investigation. The House has more or less come a cropper by a very ill-advised action taken by the chairman, who has recused himself, is no longer chairman, and this morning a new chairman was appointed for the House committee. The Senate, under Richard Burr of North Carolina and Mark Warner of Virginia. He's what I was both. I was 6 years chairman and I was 2 years vice chairman. So Mark and Burr have begun, and we have signed off on a committee list of a protocol to follow. And so that is now being put together. I am hopeful that they will hire additional investigators in addition to our staff, who are very good, but there's so much to cover and so much to look at. And we've held our first public hearing, and I believe within the month there will be a second public hearing. That's all right.
Thank you. Everything you've been talking about is politics as usual. Last week, Sean Spicer said some things as the press secretary of the President of the United States. The President of the United States. My mother was a guest at several of those Holocaust centers that Sean Spicer talked about. She was a reluctant guest of Adolf Hitler. She was a guest at Auschwitz. She was a guest at Bergen-Belsen, and she was a guest at a work camp called Salzwedel. One time, my mum was put in a line, and a couple of her friends were in another line. There were two lines, and my mum decided, because she was kind of disagreeable, that she'd stand in the other line where her friends were. She didn't know where the lines were going, but she thought, wherever those lines are going, I'm going to stay with my friends. Obviously, she survived because I'm here now. The other line went to the gas chambers. Her father, my grandfather, was kicked to death by the SS in the Lodz ghetto. We see Steve Bannon, we see Steve Miller, we see white nationalists, white supremacists, we see an actual Nazi, Sebastian Gorka, in the White House of the United States. In 1936, my dad stood against fascists in London in the Cable Street riots. He was an East End Jew. I'm trying to get to a point. At Indivisible SF, we knew a long time ago that politics as usual was over, and we had a funeral outside your office, Senator, for the death of politics as usual. I think I would like to know...
What would you substitute it with?
Well, I'd just like to know, Senator, if there's a red line. We talked about a red line that Obama drew with Syria. I'd like to know if there's a red line that the Democrats in the House and the Senate, obviously you speak for the Senate, are going to draw where you say, we cannot work with these fascists in the White House. They're destroying American institutions. They're destroying America. And we can't just pass legislation. We need to be open, say, stand up, sit down, walk out, do anything we can do to say, this is not normal. We can't normalize it. We have to say, we can't do business as usual. I'm sorry.
Okay. Actually, you've given me an idea. So let me explore that idea. And if you would give me your name and phone number, I'd like to talk to you. Okay, next. Whoa. You're pretty good at yelling. You know. None of it, all of this, it takes a plan. You got to work something out. You got to have people with you. If anything needs to get voted on, you need the vote. So you can sit here and pound your fists, and I can show you what I've gotten done, and you can take a look at it, and I'd be surprised if you found too many senators, if any, that have gotten more done. But I'm willing to put that out there. And I don't get there by making statements I can't deliver. I get there through some caution, some discussion, some smart help, good lawyers, and we generally get where we're going.
Thank you, Senator Feinstein, for this opportunity. In Chechnya, multiple human rights organizations and the Russian newspaper Novaya Gazeta have reported on the abduction, torture, and murder of gay men. The Chechnyan government denies the reports and has promised an investigation into the news organizations for reporting them. Twice in the recent past, Russian journalists have been murdered after reporting on human rights abuses in Chechnya. There's been more media attention paid to the birth of a giraffe than to this atrocity. What would you do to pressure our government to condemn these actions?
I would like to have the question, if I could have the question.
The question is, what will you do?
No. Could I have it? I'd like to take it with me. And I'd like to get you specific answers on each part. You know, I can...
Senator, if I could share one thing, that there's actually going to be a demonstration tomorrow night at the Russian consulate, which is 2790 Green Street, that I'm going out to. So as a means of making people aware that gay men are being rounded up, they're being held in detention camps, murders are taking place. So 6 o'clock tomorrow night at the Russian consulate.
Come along, Senator Feinstein! Come along.
You never know, I may go... Let me get back to you on the specifics of this, okay?
Great.
My question is related to something a lot more personal. For a lot of people in the government, there is a tremendous corporate influence on those who are elected to office. And even on a personal level, I believe it was ProPublica that reported that you and your husband have been purchasing water rights in the state of California.
Water rights?
Water rights.
No, not to my knowledge.
Okay, well, you know, my concern is that with so much corporate influence, We have lost the ability to really have contact and genuine political influence in our elected officials. And I don't know if there is any possibility of getting corporate money and lobbying power out of the election process, but I'm really concerned that democracy is corrupted by the corporations at the most systemic level.
Well, there is no question, but this is right. And it's a real problem. And it's Citizens United. And that was the court case that the court essentially threw out the ability to control these monies. But it's even worse than you think, because it's now with the judges. And if anything should be sacrosanct and not be a product of money, it's who sits on the Supreme Court, the appellate courts, and the federal district courts of our country. $7 million was spent to prevent a very good man, Merrick Garland, from being the next Supreme Court justice. And nobody knows whose money that was. It's interesting to me because this man was 22 years on the federal district court, the District of Columbia, the big appeals court, the major appeals court in our country. He was thought well of by everyone, and he was humiliated. The day after Scalia died, McConnell announced there will not be an appointment by this president in his 4th year. Now, it slid by. Nobody realized the impact of this. It's hugely impactful it's impactful because of $10 million that was then raised to support Gorsuch, including $1 million from the NRA. All of it dark money, none of it knowing where it came from. And we have to stop that dark money. This dominates elections, and it has to be stopped. And we have to pass another law to be able to do it. So I think the question that everybody needs to ask is, will I vote for a law that stops dark money and, to the greatest extent possible, because there's a constitutional question here, limits individual contributions? And the answer is yes.
Anybody over there? No one's over there? Okay, next question. Hello, Senator Feinstein. I'm over here to your right.
Okay.
Thank you very much for being here today. It means a lot to all of us, and we really hope that there are many opportunities in the future to have similar exchanges. Now, today, the Trump administration is doing everything in its power, and some things that aren't, to provoke and instigate a war that will distract from investigations into their legitimacy.
Yes.
They know that a wartime presidency will grant them powers they would never otherwise achieve, and they do not care what lives are destroyed along the way. The coming wars look increasingly likely to have a significant presence in the Pacific Theater, and San Francisco may be an early casualty. One for which Donald Trump will not shed a single genuine tear. San Francisco is a city of peace, tolerance, and compassion. I ask you now to remember your roots here, to remember this moment, my face and my voice, when the authorization for war is put before you to vote on, as my voice may no longer exist to speak. Do not seek vengeance or retribution. Grant no authority of force, but devote your every ounce of energy unrelentingly to seek alliances for a diplomatic solution.
That's been the effort. We had certain operations going that were entirely intentioned to bring about an armistice. Finally, the armistice came. There was an armistice in Syria. It still exists. It's not followed. It's fallen apart. You have a very difficult situation because you cannot get Assad to the conference table. What would you suggest under those circumstances? Please, I'm asking this gentleman who's the one that has the time right now. What would you suggest?
I would suggest that there are enough hawks who are trying to take power in the White House already, and we need you to help support us doves who currently do not have a voice in that administration.
No. Obviously, if this is possible to do, it should be done. There's no question about that. But it's been... Why don't you leave the name calling out of it, okay? If you don't like me, don't stay. That's easy. But I heard you, and we'll take a good hard look. You know, you're asking an individual senator to do something. Yes. Maybe very difficult.
Hello, Senator Feinstein.
Yes.
Patrick. I'm with Stand Up SF, which is one of the many indivisible groups. We wanted to thank you for the strong stance you've taken in the last couple of months. I want to thank the rabble-rousers in the crowd for speaking up. I want to thank everyone who shouted them down also. Democracy is messy. And we should do this more often. And that's my question for you, Senator Feinstein, because there are a lot of angry town halls happening all over the country right now. It is a time of fear and fury, and the fact that people are standing up and shouting is part of what's making it exciting to be an American right now. So I would like to know whether you will commit to continuing to meet with us like this, and specifically on your next recess, can we do a meeting on a Saturday when people are working?
Los Angeles this week. I do an event in LA. I don't know whether it'll be my next recess because my husband and I were going to take Memorial Day, so we'll wait and see. But I will commit to doing one on a weekend during the summer. That's for sure.
Hi, Senator Feinstein. Thank you for your service. You've been my senator my whole life, and I do appreciate it, or most of my life, and I appreciate it. One thing I want to talk to you about is you have power within the deliberative body, and I think you actually do the deliberation and the behind-the-scenes stuff very, very well, and I appreciate that. You also have other power. You have the power of your voice as a U.S. Senator. You're a senior one, a powerful one. And I know I speak for my fellow people at Indivisible SF when I say that when Master Steve comes up and asks you if you have a red line around fascists, we want to hear you say loudly and strongly, but that is way past your red line. Master Steve was the guy who spoke to you about the concentration camps.
Wait. Does anybody believe that I am the least bit for fascism or anti-Semitism?
So I don't believe that for a heartbeat, but what we want and what we need from you,
My whole record indicates
Absolutely.
exactly the opposite. Now hold it for a minute. The Judiciary Committee in the Senate, and I will be in the lead Democratic chair, when we return, is holding a big hearing on anti-Semitism, anti-Semitic, anti-Muslim attacks in this country. So please come back if you can. Listen to it if you can. But, you know, nothing bothers me more than the assumption that I don't do my share in this direction.
So my assumption is not at all that you think that. What I'm asking is that when there are things like that, right, and there's ICE raids where fathers are pulled out of cars by schools, that you speak loudly and declaratively, not just in your deliberative body, but in public as much as you possibly can. I think in this time, which is not normal in the least, it calls for a higher amount of leadership. And we want to hear you, we want to support you. Every single time things like this come up, be loud in public and do it the way, unfortunately, the Republicans do it, where they come out in the formation of the leadership. And you and Schumer and...
Well, let me ask you, do you like tweeting?
Yes.
Yes.
Why?
Honestly, I said yes because they all said yes. Actually, I actually don't like tweeting because I don't think it's as powerful as voices.
I don't think so either.
And what I want is you have the ability to go onto the news. You have the ability to draw cameras just because you're Senator Feinstein. And we want you to draw those cameras as much as you can to make these absolutely vital points because there are literally constituents who are under threat.
Can I tell you, you know how it works. We're called. Yeah, the various shows that have the talk parts, will call and ask you to come up, whether it's CNN, CBS, any one of those shows. And I generally try and do them. Then it depends on the question that you get, whether you can answer the question fully.
Okay, we got it. Let's get this photo. Make it straight. Straight back here, straight back here. We gotta see the banner. Get behind the banner. Get behind the banner, please.